Hello. Today is Wednesday, April 9th. Welcome to episode 437 of Fault Lines, the National Security Institute's podcast that gets you quickly up to speed 3 times a week on the national security and foreign policy debates shaking up America. I'm NSI Deputy Executive Director Martha Miller, and I'm joined today by NSI Advisory Board Member Lester Munson and NSI Senior Fellows Bishop Garrison and Amy Mitchell. Today, we're focusing on the Democratic Republic of Congo. The DRC has immense natural resources, but has been plagued by decades of conflict. Its mineral reserves, estimated at $24 trillion worth, include cobalt, coltan, and gold, which are essential for everything from smartphones to electric vehicles to advanced military technologies. But these resources have also fueled violence, corruption, and foreign interference. So, escalating this violence, there's the M23 rebel group, backed by Rwanda, that has seized control of mining hubs in eastern Congo. Over 7,000 civilians have been killed this year alone, and we're just in April, and millions have been displaced. The Congolese government has approached Washington with a critical minerals deal in exchange for U.S. military assistance to combat these militias that are destabilizing the country. But at the same time, China dominates mining operations in the DRC, and Rwanda and Uganda are accused of smuggling minerals through proxy militias. So the United States is facing some difficult choices here. Bishop, I'd like to turn to you first. What is an appropriate international response and the U.S. role here?
Yeah, and this goes back to something we've talked about on the pod before in terms of U.S. policy vis-a-vis the African continent. We're going to have to find a way to have a more stable, thoughtful policy as a member of the international community overall. To the point here, the Congolese government came to us, came to the Trump administration to discuss this idea, similar to what we've seen in terms of engagement previously with the Trump administration in Ukraine. We currently are going through some of our own economic, let's say, disruption in terms of what we're seeing from the tariffs and some of the overall cuts to government spending. So it is to get to those 24 trillion in mineral resources. You're talking about a lot of infrastructure and a lot of effort. You're also talking about partnerships with allied countries in order everything from the logistical support to actual movement of the materials. You're also talking about, as we were talking about kind of in the green zone before, the green room, before this, you're also talking about the need to have civilian contractors going in to help build that infrastructure and actually take the minerals out of the ground. So a lot of this, I think, is just going to be just problematic overall, if not an outright pipe dream. You already see the Chinese government is very much deeply into the African continent, has built out a ton of their own infrastructure, and has been engaged in this for some time now. That said, we need critical minerals. China is already looking to target the United States to prohibit us from getting to a lot of critical minerals and resources that they have access to. So we're going to have to figure out alternatives or figure out a way to work better with a lot of these countries that are in support of the Chinese government and their operations there. So a lot of this remains to be seen. So I'll leave it to others to kind of give their deeper thoughts here.
Yeah, so Amy, Bishop alluded to kind of the challenges with these critical minerals. I mean, is a critical minerals deal realistic here?
I think it's one of those things, Martha, where it sounds good in theory, but it's very hard, as Bishop said, in practice. We've seen this before. We were going to go mine in Afghanistan. They didn't have the infrastructure, even despite 20 years of us building roads, factories, etc. in Afghanistan. We're seeing this with Ukraine right now and the critical minerals deal that the Trump administration wants with President Zelensky. The big issue there is American firms would have to contend with an active war going on or a ceasefire, quote unquote, with no kind of bounds of trust, as well as the Russians have, basically peppered Ukraine with landmines. So you'd have to clear the land in order to start the mining, and that's going to take years. So then you turn to the DRC, where you have an active war, a brutal war going on. And yes, they'd like a deal. I think that this is them thinking, hey, this is a way for us to finally get in with America. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But the countries that already have a footprint there, and I'm thinking more allied countries like Australia, we're hammering all of our allies with these tariffs right now. So the likelihood of us getting a deal using kind of a partner ally footprint to gain that foothold is going to be very difficult.
So, Lester, the U.S. has relied on Rwanda. It's been a partner with the United States for many years. Given what's going on, do we need to reassess this relationship?
Well, the Rwandans are the darlings of our security establishment, which is fine to some extent. But let's be very realistic here. Kagame lies about not supporting the M23 rebels. He takes political prisoners. He puts on show trials. The democracy there is a joke. We need to have a policy towards Rwanda and Congo that is based in reality. Rwanda is a very problematic partner for a lot of reasons. Doesn't mean we can't deal with them, but we should be very cautious. In Congo, the government doesn't really control Eastern Congo, which is where all these resources are. We need to be very realistic there as well. The idea that they can deliver on a strategic minerals deal is sketchy at best. So this is a cauldron of instability. It's perhaps the most unstable part of the entire world right now, which is really saying something. So we just need to be very grounded here and very realistic about what is doable. The previous administration didn't do anything about this conflict. There was no real obvious solution. The same is going to be true of this administration. If anything, we're going to lean a little too hard on Rwanda, if you ask me. We should just all be very realistic about what is actually achievable in this conflict.
Well, on that happy note, I think that's a wrap. We will keep our eyes on this topic and we'll update as things develop. So thanks so much to Kelly Crowley, Taylor Lane, Claude Jennings, and the NSI staff for their help in producing today's special episode. Join us on Friday, April 11th for another episode of Fault Lines, NSI's podcast that gets you smart fast on the national security and foreign policy debates shaking up America and the world. We're on YouTube as well, so check us out and please give us a like and subscribe.